This is part 5 of section 11.6. Of the 38 plays attributed to Shakespeare, 18 are comedies, 10 are tragedies, and 10 are histories. One play is selected at random. Find the odds in favor of selecting a tragedy. Now, first I'm going to use the formula that you were given exactly. So to define the odds in favor of a tragedy, we need to find the probability that we have a tragedy, and then the probability that we do not have a tragedy. Okay. The probability that a tragedy is chosen, there are 10 out of 38. And that reduces down to 5 over 19. Now the probability that it's not a tragedy, you can do this two ways. It will either be, you can add these up, 18 comedies plus 10 histories, so it would be 28 out of the 38. You can do it that way, but we also have the probability, when we want to find the probability that it's not something, we can do 1 minus 5 over 19, which gives you 14 over 19. And by the way, if you had done it the other way, 18 plus 28 would be 28 over 38, which reduces to that. So it's the same thing. Now the formula for finding odds in favor, so we take the probability that we do get a tragedy, and then put that over the probability that we do not. Okay, so this would be 5 over 19 divided by 14 over 19. That's what a complex fraction is telling you to do. You follow your division rules for fractions, so you keep this one, change it to multiplication, and flip the second one. That cancels, and you get 5 over 14. If you're given the probabilities from the beginning, you want to do it this way. Okay? If you're going to have to find the probabilities first, there is an easier way. Look at this. I end up with this number over this number because the denominators cancel out. Your denominators are always going to cancel out. So there's no real reason for us to do it this way. Okay? So the simplified way to find the odds in favor of something, you count up the number of ways it can occur over the number of ways it cannot occur. So if we did that here, the number of ways it could occur would be 10. The number of ways it did not occur was 28. 10 over 28 reduces to 5 over 14. So it's the same idea. We're just cutting out the whole having to do the division, doing the fraction division, canceling out the denominators. We're just doing all those steps at once. Now, we do all our math in fraction form, but your answer is usually going to be written like this: 5 to 14. Now, I said that earlier that odds are useful when it comes to betting. The way you would read this is if you bet $5 and you win, then you should get your $5 back plus an additional 14. That's how it works. Okay? So now we're going to use these and find the probability against selecting a comedy. So we both need to know, again, how many different ways we can select a comedy, how many different ways you are not going to select a comedy. So the number of ways you can select a comedy, there are 18. The number of ways you're not choosing a comedy, well, that would be the tragedies plus the histories, which is 20. The odds against means you put the not over the way it can. So that would be 20 over 18, which reduces to 10 over 9. So the odds against selecting a comedy would be 10 to 9. Okay. In favor of selecting a tragedy or a history. Now, we have to decide whether these are mutually exclusive, so whether or not we have to worry about there being an overlap or not. But tragedies and histories have no overlap. They are mutually exclusive. So the probability, if I needed to do it that way, the probability in favor of selecting a tragedy or a comedy, I could find the probability of a tragedy and the probability of a history. Okay, but again, I need both, the probability that I do get it and the probability that I don't. So the number of ways we could choose a tragedy or a history would be 10 plus 10. There are 20 different ways to do it. And that's really what we just did right here. All right, so the number of ways we can choose not T or H. I'm sort of borrowing some logic notation here. Well, that would mean we're choosing a comedy, which is 18 different ways of doing it. Now this is in favor of, so we do this one over this one. So it's 20 over 18, which is again 10 to 9. That's because we were actually finding the same things here. T or H is the same thing as not comedy. Not tragedy or history is the same thing as comedy. So we're basically this is doing the same problem. Now, if we want to find the odds against choosing a comedy or a history, okay, so I need the number of ways we can choose a comedy or a history, and the number of ways we choose not a comedy or a history. The number of ways we could choose a comedy or a history would be 18 plus 10, so 28. And that leaves the 10 ways we would choose a tragedy. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't have that on the screen. All right, the odds against means you take the number of ways it doesn't occur over the number of ways it does. So this would be 10 over 28, which reduces down to 5 over 14. So the odds against selecting a comedy or a history is 5 to 14. Okay, so now let's do that last direction where you're given odds and then we have to go to probability. This is really easy. If the odds in favor of selecting event, E, are A to B, then the probability of the event is given by A, which is the first number, over A plus B. Okay, so if you're given the odds of 3 to 7 in favor of winning a bet, so that would be 3 over 7, first number over second number. What is the probability of winning the bet? Well, the probability of winning, using this formula, you take the 3 over 3 plus 7, which would be 3 over 10. So the probability of winning that bet is 3 to 10. Now, if you think about it, you have 3 ways to win over, that would leave, if you had 10 possibilities, that would leave 7 ways to lose. So all we're doing is just doing that little bit of arithmetic, and it's not too bad.